Hi everybody, I wanted to do a tutorial on some of the most common problems that are solved using arrays. This tutorial is really important because it gives you problem solving tools for the labs as well as for the exam. So if you would please start processing and program along with me. Let's say we have a double, an array of doubles, and let's do something simple with this. So let's calculate the average of the numbers in this array. So the array is simple right now. It only has 5 elements, but of course this could change. We could have an array that has 10,000 elements or 100,000 elements. So how do we do this? Well, to calculate the average, we need to calculate the sum. So since the array is array of doubles, we're going to need a value sum, which is also a double. And we need to be able to keep count of how many values we have at the end, but we don't need to keep track of that anymore because we know exactly how many we have. It's array.length, so it makes our job really easy. So all that remains is that to go through this array one by one and add the results and add the values to sum. So for loop int I equals 0, I less than array dot length I plus plus, and inside the loop we simply say sum plus and equal to, or actually if I want to just write it out, I'll say sum equals sum plus array index I. So we add everything, we put it in sum. After we come out of this loop, that sum is calculated completely, and we would say double average equal sum divided by array dot length. And I can just say println average, and this is going to calculate the average for us. Now, one safe thing that you should do is that you should do this calculation only if array.length is greater than 0. This would cause a problem, and I'll show you what the problem is. So if I said if array.length is greater than 0, then do this calculation. Actually, let me just put the braces. What do you think is going to happen? We get an error. Why is that? Because it says I don't know average. So you guys recall that for example, we can't use I outside of the for loop because I is part of the scope of the for. If you declare a variable inside here, then obviously you can't use it anywhere else. So you can't declare a variable inside the if. So to resolve this, we're going to declare it outside the if, like that. And let's just say, we set it to 0. We don't even need to really initialize it. Actually, better yet, it's good practice to declare all your variables on top of your program. So better yet, we'll just put average up here. And then here we do the calculation. If this is the case, average is 57. To make this program even more intuitive, we can say if average is greater than 0, we're going to print average. Else, we can just println no elements found in array. So something like that. That's just how to write that program. So if for example array. So if you didn't have an array, if the array wasn't actually initialized, you would get an error message saying that the array has not been initialized. All right, let's do another problem. Let's say we have so hopefully you can see this whole program here. Let's say we have an array of integers, and let's say we have 5, 8, 7, 88, 1. That's probably enough. 4. Let's do another one. 2. Okay. So if we wanted to, if the problem is find the largest value in this array. Okay, well the largest is 88. One way to do this is to actually sort the array. So what we could do is let me just bring this up. What we could do is if you remember sort, it makes things really easy. We could say so foo equal sort foo. This is gonna sort our array, and then of course the last element is going to be the largest element, right? So if I did a print of this and I printed foo right now, that's what we get printed out because it has been sorted. So we want the last element. And how do you get the last element? The last element, if you wanted to print it out, the last element is actually like this. You would say foo index. You can say foo dot length minus 1, because if I said foo dot length, that's going to be 5. There is no index 5, so I say minus 1. So then 88 is the maximum. That's pretty easy, right? Now let's make this problem challenging. So let's say find the largest value in this array, not allowed to use sort. Smiley face, because it's going to make the problem a lot harder, but not too hard. So how would we do this? Basically, and you can do this in different ways, and I'm just going to suggest, I'm going to give a solution. There are always more than one solution for each problem. So if you have an array, and the array we have 5, 8, 7, 88, and 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so what we're going to do, we're going to have a value called largest, and we're assuming they're all positive numbers, and we set our largest to 0. And what we do is we go through this, we compare largest to each cell. So we say, is largest greater than 5? If not, largest is going to be 5. Then we're going to compare it to the second one. Is largest greater than 8? No. Then largest is going to be 8. Then we're going to compare it to 7. Is largest greater than 7? Yes, it is. So we keep largest the way it is. Then we go to 88. Is largest greater than 88? No, it's not. So largest is going to become 88. Then we go to the last one and we say, is largest greater than 2? It is, so we keep largest the way it is. So maybe pause the video, write the code, see if it works, and then come back to the video and see what if your solution matches mine. Thanks. Okay, hopefully you took my advice, you paused the video, so I'm gonna write the code now. So I said we're going to need a largest, and then we say for int I equals 0, I less than foo dot length I plus plus, and then in here we say if largest, let's say greater than equal to, or greater than works too, really, greater than foo index I. If this is the case, then largest should be foo I. And that's pretty much it. And you would say println, and we're going to print largest. So, oops, what did I do? So actually, so we made a mistake. This should be other way around, right? So if foo is greater than largest, then largest should equal foo. Okay. And 88. So we have that. That's the largest number. And if we make this array larger, so if we say, let's say 33, 1000, 4, 7, you know, all of these, we call it 1000 is the largest. So you see that it's working. It would be a lot easier if you just use the sort function, but we're not going to be using all these predefined functions. We're actually going to be learning how to write our own functions, and we're going to learn how to write our own code, basically, right? And then of course we're going to use these functions as well, but it's important that we know how everything works. Okay, I want to do one last example in this tutorial, and this example is going to be a 2D array. So the problem is write a 2D, write an identity matrix. So identity matrix is a matrix that you have ones all throughout. I'm sure through your math courses you know this better than I do. So if you have a 3x3, that's what your matrix would look like. So how would we do something like that? Well, first of all, let's just say the size of the matrix, let's assume it's 4. Okay. Then we can request basically allocate that much memory. So we can say int mat for matrix, and we want it to be a 2D array called new int, so 4 and 4, like that. This is gonna fill the whole thing with zeros as we know it, right? So now we need to go through this and basically say put 0 where I and j are equal to 0. Now this is a simpler one, so we just need one loop basically. So we could do this with one loop. We can say for int I equals 0, I less than size, and then I plus plus. And we could simply just say mat index I should equal 1. So you see, it just goes through it and it puts out ones. So if we print this, we need a nested loop. So if we say if int I equals 0, I less than, so we can say size, or we can just say mat.size. Sorry, we can say mat.length I plus plus for int j equals 0, j less. So this is a square matrix, so it is safe, but it's still, I want to do something like this so that I get the size of each row. But it is a square matrix, so I could just use mat.size here as well. And then j plus plus. So with this, then I want to do my actual printing. So I'm going to say print mat I and j, and I want to leave a little bit of space so there, and then I would like to go to the next line. So let's print this, and I have a nice identity matrix printed out. And I just need it. So normally it would be more difficult. So normally if you want to go through a 2D structure, you need 2D loops. You need 2 loops. But here, because I just wanted to put it right in the middle, and the case was that I and j were equal, I could just get away with having one variable, because I and j were equal. I mean, the longer solution would you know, if you did something like this instead. So like if you said for int j equals 0, j less than size, j plus plus. If you did this, and here, inside of here, you basically would say if I equal j, then do that, right? So that would be the solution. But then our original solution was a lot smarter, because we only did it with one loop. So we got we didn't. So let me actually. So we didn't have this loop, and we didn't have this if statement. And we simply had the one loop because we realized that I and j are equal. So I just said, you know, you go down, and then if put in every spot that I and j are equal, which is the diagonal over here, put a 1. So that's all I wanted to cover in this tutorial. But as usual, I would like to leave you with a challenge. So see if you could have a matrix, let's say, well, the size doesn't matter, like 5 by 5, but you have size on top, so we could change the size anytime we want it. In fact, I could make my code better if I just said size here instead of 4, right? In that case, I could just change this once on top and get a huge matrix. You see what I mean? I don't need to change anything else in my code. I could just change this number and everything changes. So I could make this into 20. Hopefully processing doesn't crash. So, you know, it's a huge identity matrix now, right? And that's what so that's what the philosophy behind computer programming is. It's all about automation, right? So you just change the size and all of a sudden you get this huge matrix. So my challenge for you is to have basically an n by n matrix. So an n by n matrix, and that means you just say, for example, int size on top, and then I can set it to anything, and have the patterns and have this stored in there. Have this pattern. So have 1 0 1. So like if this is an example, if it was 4 by 4, 1 0 1 0, and then 0 1 0 1, 1 0 1 0 0 1 0 1. And so no ones or zeros are ever beside one another. And you could write this and have it as big as 100 by 100 or whatever, but test it out with 4 by 4. Just if you set the size on top, you'd be able to plot this, you'd be able to write this no problem. And this is going to be stored inside a 2D matrix. When it's stored inside a 2D matrix, that means you're storing information on RAM, on computer's memory. All right, good luck. Hopefully you have fun programming.